So you might have noticed that I've set up a separate channel for these YouTube videos now. So we have a channel which you're watching at the moment called Cornwall Pocket Farm. That's because we live near Cornwall Park in Auckland, so nothing to do with the UK, but obviously we're originally from England. If you want to know more about it, head over to the About tab on this channel, on our channel. Oh, you off? Are you going? Okay, you go. You go. Maggie's bored. She's not. Maybe are you camera shy? Are you? The idea is that I want to show what I'm doing in the garden to more people than just the ones that are peering through the gate and interested in what's happening. So I thought I'd do this YouTube channel so that I could keep updates on what I'm doing, what things have changed in the garden, what experiments I'm trying, because I'm always watching YouTube and finding something new and giving it a bash. So hopefully you can get some ideas and really just see what we're doing to try and get as much productivity as we can out of this little tiny patch of land that we have in a suburban environment in New Zealand. To start with, I thought it would be really good if I just give you an update tour. So I'm just going to show you all around the garden, and it might be in two parts because I've just filmed it before this and it's quite long. Just an update of the garden to where we are now because it's changed quite a lot from the last video. And then after that, I'm planning to do videos more on particular activities or particular aspects of the garden, or for instance, I might show you how I've set up the chickens and how we built the chicken coop and those types of things that may interest some of you. So anyway, hopefully you'll see me more frequently and enjoy the garden tour. Is it time to go in the garden? Yeah, out there. Should we go in the garden? What do you think? Good? Should we go in the garden? Okay, come on, let's go. At long last, I'm doing another garden tour. We have made a lot of progress, I think. Yes, certainly I looked at the last video and things have changed quite a bit. We're just coming into, well, we're in autumn at the moment, so we'll be coming into winter, and the garden is very much in transition. Oh, hello Maggie! Have you been sitting in the sun? Have you? Are you all hot now? Oh, yeah, sit in the shade. Okay, so we start up by the gate again. So this is the shed. This has become the shed of everything. It has the tools in it, it's a bike shed, it's a garden shed. We now have chickens, so it's the chicken shed. So yes, in fact it doesn't fit the bikes, all of the bikes in there now, both of them, so the other bike, as you will see, is somewhere else. So the fig tree is losing its leaves now. Look at that beautiful sky. Ah, gorgeous, gorgeous day. I'm hoping the wind noise isn't too bad for you, but it is a beautiful day. So just looking at this bed here, this is what I laughingly call my woodland border. And I put in some bulbs the other day and they're starting to come through. You can see a whole bunch of seedlings, not quite sure what they are going to be. And also you can see the poached eggplant is coming back there as well. We now have a, what is that? I can't think. We now have a, it will come, no, gardenia, that's what it is. So yes, get there in the end. We've got a gardenia that I've planted that's had a few blooms and they smell divine. This is looking a bit rubbishy. It looks best in the winter actually because we have some hellebores there, a few hellebores, and they just come out beautifully. And then we also now have a Hardenbergia climbing up the side of the shed or the wood store, and that will be flowering not too far away, I think, and that's got beautiful white blooms on it, so that looks really lovely. My espalier, just backing up here, my espaliers here, as you can see, are doing really well. We've got all the wires in now. This first one, the apple is up to the top, and we even had a couple of apples off it today, this year, which was brilliant. That's the pear. It's a little further behind. And this bed down below, I don't know if you can see, it doesn't really know what it's doing yet. I think what we're going to do is all along this border and the next border further down, we're going to plant a whole load of different lavenders, because I understand that they will keep codling moth away, which is what we get here in New Zealand on apples and pears, so that would be a good idea. I've also planted a Daphne here, just really because I think it'll give lovely scent in the winter. And also all of this is bare because the apples, the pears, the rose, they're all deciduous, whereas this is evergreen and flowers in the winter. So I'm hoping that will provide a lovely scent and also jolly up this corner in the winter, although it's not gone in that long, so we've got to see if it survives, because it's not an ideal position, but hey. I have my clematis there, and that plant has died twice. I bought it in the shop because it looked dead, and I got it for an extremely good price. Put it in here, and then Maggie charged straight through it and ripped it off at the base. So I thought, oh, it's definitely dead now. And then it came back, so that's the second time, and now it's come up. It's got a beautiful flower, but it's been eaten by the slugs and snails, of which we have a lot at the moment. You'll see also now we have an arch there, which is different. This is called marble arch. And then we've got the espaliers down here. They're doing really well as well. And we've got our little bit of modern art, that stick at the end, which is the end of the sort of support for the espalier. Okay, so we also, big news, have a gate now. That's very exciting. That really makes it look very smart. And the rose, that's wedding day, and it's beautiful. It scrambles all over the place. It's got lots of rose hips on it at the moment. I think you can see that. So I'm hoping that I'll know when they're ripe, and I'm going to gather them and hopefully do something with them if I can get to them before the birds. Not these birds, by the way, but we now have chickens. So we built all the chicken run around the edges, the wire. We finished the chicken coop, which we have called, I don't know if you can see actually, I might go around here. We've called it Henley Hall. The girls, the ladies I should say, live in the hall. And hello ladies, hello. So that is Phyllis, and that is, who are you? You're Pip, aren't you? That's Pip. Up there, that will be Marguerite for short. And over there, having a lovely dust bath, that is Gretchen. Hello Gretchen. So in here we have 4 avocados in there. You know, remember in the last video that was all wrapped up in wind protection and sun protection. Well, now they're quite large and they're quite happily romping away by themselves, so they're doing quite nicely. You can see our wood store that we built is all full of wood, and we have the roof on it now, so that's all finished. And in the corner you can see we have a rain barrel, so that collects the water off the chicken coop and the woodshed. And I use that water for the water system for the girls. So you can see behind there's some resine buckets. Those are, that's the water that supplies the constant fresh water for the girls inside. And they're sitting on top of my compost system, which I've made out of plastic hobby boxes for all of their chicken bedding. So I basically fill those up, and as I go along, the older ones just sit and compost down and sort of age. But hopefully by the time I get to the last box, I'm hoping that that will be good just to go straight onto the garden. If not, I might need to get some more hobby boxes, but it seems to be working really well at the moment. And again, I put the I actually also put citrus peels and things and onion and leek skins in from the kitchen, because they don't go on our normal compost system. And then also the chicken poo, and then I wet it down with the rainwater, which is really easily done when I clear out the girls. You'll see the girls are now, they're hard at work, because what they do is they work very hard on my compost system. So that's the compost heap, and they eat anything they fancy out of the garden, scratch it all through, turn it, add their special ingredient, and yeah, it all breaks down. And then when it's sort of finished, I move it around. It often will go down there, and they'll kick it about a little bit more, and then I dig it out from there, and put it on the garden. So it works really, really well. This is our herb bed down here. So we have all the usual: sage, oregano, marjoram, thyme, winter savoury, and I've got a little lemon in there which I'm also trying to grow along this fence. Sort of a casual espalier is what I like to call it. And we're also trialling putting natives in the chicken coop, because I wanted to get some plants in there, and obviously New Zealand natives evolved with lots of ground-dwelling birds, so apparently they're more resilient, which has been the case mostly. I put the hebe in a pot, so all of these plants essentially I get on the sale nearly dead rack at the local big box store, and I bring them home and I try and nurture them back to health. You can see the hebe at the moment is still being coddled because it's looking a bit sick, but it's got new growth at the base, so I'm hopeful that that will survive, and it's being protected. You can see, actually, let me see it. Let me see over there. I found a big bird cage on the side of the road, and it's perfect for protecting the plants in the chicken coop when they need it, or protecting it from the general birds outside in the garden or whatever. Now down here I've got another plant down here which is getting a bit more protection. That's a Muhlenbeckia, but it survives by creating a sort of a network on the outside, and the leaves are sort of further in, but because it's so small the chickens can get to all the leaves, so it's not working quite as intended yet. That grass has been sat on quite a lot, so I don't know whether that's going to survive. The flax are doing quite nicely, they're surviving, and these grasses are doing okay. And that in the corner, it was a very dead plant when I bought it, so I'm seeing if it's going to come right. It looks okay. They've obviously had a bit of a nibble of it, but see if it'll survive. I think that one's a grevillea. It said it was a native, but I'm not sure it is. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It does seem to be surviving. So we've got more things along here, random things, and these are the items that need to be looked at carefully, because they're mint, which obviously spreads really easily if you don't keep your eye on it, and that's also horseradish there, which can become invasive as well. So these are all sunk in pots, and then we've just got a range of chives and lemon balm and bergamot and coriander and some parsley I've put in, and we've got, oh, I make the sun whether you can see properly, we've got a couple of blueberry bushes there, which we got a few blueberries off last year, maybe 3, but hopefully, yeah, they're doing quite nicely, so that's good. This is our service area, I like to call it. One of the next jobs is to build a bin hide, so you don't have to look at the bins. We have the very, very exciting part of my garden, but anyway, the washing line, and I now have irrigated all of the vegetable beds, so that's the irrigation system, and then that's the pump, and we have a 4,000 litre rainwater barrel there, which basically collects all the water from the roof and then also feeds the toilets in the house. And then in the peak of summer, when we get a lot of drought, I turn the toilets over onto mains water, so that just becomes for the garden. So I have that option, which I asked the plumber specifically for, that we could turn the water to the toilets from mains to rainwater, and also that we could access the water directly. There's a little tap being put down there, so we could access the water directly, I don't think you can see that, without the pump, in case there was some sort of power cut or emergency. Okay, so as you can probably see, these trees here are doing really well. So that was that tiny little double grafted apple, and we have an enormous apple on it. One, can you see that there? It's huge. I keep lifting it every day to see if it's going to come off, but not yet. It wants to be bigger. And then that is the almond tree, which is doing really nicely as well. And we also now have 2 lemons, which are laden with lemons. I don't know if you remember from even from the very first videos of the renovation, we had 2 little lemons down the side of what was then the carport, and they've been all over the place in buckets and planted down into the west gardens and everywhere, and they weren't doing very well at all. But we potted them up in pots with some nice material, some soil to grow in, and they have just exploded into life, and we are covered in lemons, so that's really nice to see. This is the kitchen garden that you can see there, and I'll show you. We'll go up the main path and I'll show you. This sadly, first off, this sadly was our courgette, which was doing wonderfully well, and we had some really high winds last night and it broke off. But I don't know if you can see, I've been growing it up a pole and it's been sinking down, and we've got this big sort of spiral that it's just gone round and round and round. So I'm actually really interested to take that out and just see how long it's grown, because I just keep tying it in up that pole and it just kept producing more courgettes. So that was doing really well, but unfortunately it died. So I've got some, these are called summer sprouting broccoli. So I put them in at the appropriate time, and they've got taller and taller and taller and taller, and they've not sprouted. So I'm waiting. I figured that at some point they have got to flower. So anyway, they're still in, and there's a couple of little ones down there as well, which are not as happy. Got a little bit of sooty mould on them and things, but the chickens also love them, so that's really great. I've put in down there, you can see that is a kale trontuda, or they call it a Portuguese cabbage, and it's a perennial cabbage, which makes a lot of sense for us. You just can then basically take each individual leaf. We have a problem that if we grow cabbages, we end up with like a week of cabbage because they're so big for the 2 of us. So anyway, so we're trying that, which is a perennial cabbage. And then down there, looking a bit sad because they've only not long gone in and they have already been attacked by the slugs and snails. That is a 9-star broccoli, which I think, or it's a 9-star cauliflower. No, 9-star broccoli. So that again is a perennial broccoli. So we'll see. Most of these things have these names from European countries. So whether that is the case in New Zealand, I don't really know yet. So we'll see. Now we have a big tent there. Underneath there we've got, you probably can't see, but it's the leftover beetroot which is still in there. We've got some sprouting broccoli, we've got some lettuce, all sorts of bits and bobs in there. And again here we've got that bed there is lettuce. Now the reason it's under netting for this is because the birds just eat it. Lettuce, I just can't keep the birds off the lettuce. They just eat it all the time, down to a stub. So so I have to keep that covered. The other bits and pieces in here are mainly covered from the white butterfly, cabbage white butterfly, which are pretty much over now, hopefully, so I shall take that off soon. And what you can see here on Crystal Palace, this great big structure that we've put in the garden, these are loofahs. So I put in 2 loofah plants at the base here, and it is just grown and grown and grown and grown and grown. So I counted and we had 22 loofahs. 22. So that's quite a lot. Now they're in various stages. So I've had one that's gone completely dry and it's inside now. This one is in its yellow stage. These ones are still green, but they are going yellow. So there's a few there that are yellow, and another one there, that's a headbanger there. Every time you go past, you bash your head on it. So they're doing really well, and I'm hoping that I was actually growing the plant because I thought I might get 1 or 2 and could use them in the kitchen for kitchen sponges. But I've got 22, so I don't think I'll need to grow it again for quite a few years. Oh yes, just back here, the asparagus has done really well this year. Next year, it's just plough in. We can eat as much as we like, so I'm very much looking forward to that. I've got some beans in the corner. Those are gigantis beans. I did have beans up the sides here as well, and this side as well, but they're over now, so I took them down a couple of days ago. So moving along, this is bed 1, again all covered, I'm afraid. That far bed is got it's got dazzling blue kale in it, and it's got some raw-rapini, and it's also, I've got 2 more there of the kale tronchuda, the Portuguese cabbage, and the 9-star broccoli. So hopefully those will be perennial and stay in that spot. And then in here I've got some violet cauliflowers, and I've got some leeks that I just planted out the other day, so they're tiny, tiny. And a few that I've put out, as you can see, touch and go, eaten by the slugs and snails, but we'll see how they go. And in there's a bit of everything. I've got some carrots, some raw-rapini, I've got some violet cauliflower, I've got some all sorts in there. At the back, that's a rhubarb, which is fairly new planted there, so we'll see how that does. And then all the way at the back, I'll just go up here. Those plants that look a bit rubbishy at the moment, they are the remainder of the yams. So the yams basically just die down, and I'll harvest them through the winter. I think they're also called, what are they also called? Oh, there's another name for them that a lot of people use, but anyway, here we call them yams. And that is a bit of perpetual spinach that I put in this year, and it didn't like being there. I don't know why. It was a bit shadier, which it does like, but I don't think it got quite enough water. Anyway, so I might move that or put some other stuff in there. So this is bed 4, and I've got some Shiraz peas growing up there now, and we also have a lovely honeysuckle, which has been very nice. This is its first year, so it's done very well for 1 year. And that's growing on the Arc de Triomphe. So we like to give grand names to everything that we build. You'll also see now that we've put in some wind protection. So I found that window on the side of the road, and we've used bits of framing from inside the house to create a bit of a windbreak there. On the other side, we still just have some netting just to try and break the wind. Hopefully we're going to put a little sort of sleep out, summer housey type structure on there, but that's in the future. So here we've got Shiraz peas. This is the last of the pumpkins. The pumpkins are just finishing, so I've just moved them over to the path. Well, that's a little path. Moved them over there so that I can plant something else in here. We've then got, excuse my shadow, it's very sunny. We've got a few red onions down the edge here, and then the main part of that is leeks with a few self-sown lettuces, and then we've got carrots over there, and then against Crystal Palace there we've got some peas. Those are just green snap peas. The roses, we struggled a bit this summer because it was very, very hot, so that's Dublin Bay. It's starting to grow a bit more now. It needs a good sort out. And I'll just go down this path a little bit. You can see that the lavender hedge was a bit patchy up here. I had to put in some new plants. How that's going to go, I don't know, but my latest plan is actually to put some step over fruit trees. So where that hedge is, I'll take out the odd lavender and put in a couple of pears on this side, and espalier them really, really low, so they'll only basically be about a foot off the ground. You can probably see the rosemary hedge is going really well. Okay, so I'll just finish the kitchen garden. So this is bed 3. So again, this was our main pumpkin patch this year, so pumpkins are just finishing. Most of them have been harvested. There's just a couple that aren't quite dried off enough on their top, so they're just sitting there, and it keeps trying to grow some more. I've also got some dazzling blue kale. Oh, there's a bus. I've got some dazzling blue kale in there and some cosmos, and of course that is rainbow chard, which is it's doing very well because the snails come out of that wall there, and so it's getting a little bit eaten. We're eating some of it, but once it takes off, it usually manages okay. We've got a poppy coming in the corner with a nice head on it. That's rather lovely. And the hedge here is doing much better. So the lavender hedge here is really much fuller than on the other side. I'm not quite sure. There does seem to be quite a difference between these two beds. These two beds, 3 and 4, are my best winter beds because, as you can probably see now, this side is in shade and this side is in sun. So in the middle of winter, these two beds are fully in sun and these two are fully in shade. It's a bit of an experiment this year to try growing things in full shade, but you know, what is there to lose? So yeah, so that needs planting out. I've got a bunch of seedlings to go in there, but I wanted to get the shade beds populated with seedlings first, because I think they're going to grow, if they grow, a lot slower than the sunny beds will.